applying those 3 methods for establishing the customer journey mindset. I'm sure you know most of them, so I'm going to repeat it. Obviously, agile, I think, is about being flexible and having an iterative approach for project management. And honestly, this is a project. Don't underestimate it. Bringing this customer journey mindset to your team is the whole project. Then I work in sprints, which is short, focused work cycles for progress. They have very specific goals, which I'll talk to on the next slides. And then the last method that I think is very helpful is nugget learning, because we saw in the challenges why it's hard. It's because time is limited. But hello, everybody. Thank you, Veronica, as I said, for the introduction. My name is Marie, and I'm very excited to talk to you today about my take on bringing a customer journey mindset to your team. I feel like the comments are pretty much on point with what we're going to talk about today. So I'm very excited to get into it. I did prepare a little bit intro about myself, which I now feel is a little bit unnecessary because Veronica covered it beautifully. Maybe just to add 2 things. I'm based in Berlin currently, working for a digital agency, which is called Techonauten GmbH. We do digital website products, apps. Check it out. It's pretty cool. As Veronica said, 9 years of experience in international companies, specifically in France, Senegal, and Germany. And then I have experience in various departments working in customer experience, customer success, little typo there, product management, and strategic marketing. So without further ado, let's really get into what we're all here for today. We're here to talk about the journey mapping mindset, which is also why we're going to kick off with this. I just want to make sure that we all have a mutual and same understanding of what it actually is, why it is, or how to apply it. Then we're going to talk quickly about the importance of changing perspective, which means why it's important to have a comprehensive understanding of the whole journey. I feel like this was also very present in the comments, so excited to get into that. And then I think the last part of the presentation, which is going to be the most interesting one for most of you, is how do you actually establish this customer journey mindset in your company, or at least what's my take on that? What's my experiences? What do I have planned in my current company around this subject? So let's get started and align everybody on what the journey mapping mindset actually is. I thought easiest would be to do that in 2 parts. First one being the mapping, what's actually a customer journey, how do you map it? It's basically documenting the customer experience over various stages. It's not the nice visual as on the right. This is just me obsessed with ChatGPT in this moment. It's actually much more of a table, as Veronica showed earlier. And in each customer journey, you have at least, I'm sure most of you know that, but you have at least 5 phases, which are the columns, which are awareness, consideration, conversion, retention, advocacy. As you probably know, during the awareness stage, you do not yet have an actual contact with your lead at this stage. Most probably, it's more that the customer, the lead, they discover that they have a need for your product or your service. Then you have the consideration stage where the lead is kind of researching on their need. They are specifying what exactly they're looking for, and they're also already starting to explore existing options on the market. So this is definitely where you at the latest want to pop up on their horizon. Then we have the conversion, very important happening. It's where the buying decision is made and where customers will actually decide for your product or service. The retention phase, where they actually get to use it. Most of the times on their own, depends obviously on your product or service, but usually this is where customers will have a real experience with what you offer. And then the advocacy stage, where the customer ideally, of course, remains loyal to your product and shares a positive experience. Now, I just want to zoom in a little bit, because as you saw, there are at least 5 stages. You can, however, depending on your product, have many more, get into detail. They will, however, always be under those 5 main stages. So let's take the example, let's zoom in and what it could look like for an IKEA online shop. The retention phase, where they actually get to use the product, there could be 3 sub phases, which could be delivery, assembly, and decoration, which is all the steps needed for the customer to really use the product. So as you can see here, every phase can contain multiple subphases. I used our example at Econauten GmbH, where we actually have 13 phases. I'm not going to go into them specifically now because they're very specific to our business, but just to show you, there's really not much of a limitation on how many phases you want to show if you consider them important. Then let's get a little bit deeper, literally. Let's talk about the rows. The rows are basically the happenings, what's happening in the different phases. You will almost always talk about touch points. How do customers reach and interact you or your product or service? What are their expectations? What are they looking for? Which job do they want to get done? What are the expectations they have at this? What are the expectations, the pains, the needs? What are opportunities to enlighten them? What are eventual risks to, disappoint them? What are success KPIs? You know all of that. And also, obviously, those happenings happen on all stages, just they will be very different. And those stages, phases, and rows essentially create the customer experience that your customer will live when looking for or when discovering the need, comparing, using, buying your product. So yeah, this is just a quick intro on the mapping. How do you create your customer journey? Then there's obviously also the mindset part. What does it mean to use a customer journey? If you just have it, there's still lots of things you need to do with it. It's basically understanding the customer expectations, feelings, using it to identify opportunities, gaps, just reading the map. And I thought it would be good to show, why do we do it? We do it obviously for the customer. We want to, at the very least, meet the needs and expectations they have. And at the very best, we want to exceed their needs and expectations, enlightening them throughout the journey, being at the right time and place with the right content, with the right product and the right attitude. So the customer is always the heart of it. The benefits for the company, I'm not going to read all of that list. It's more to show you that there's 100,000. Really get into customer journey mapping. It's helpful. It's helpful to understand behavior patterns, to find preferences, understand habits, desires, optimize, much more targeted, and don't use time and efforts, gather relevant data, feedback. So many, I forgot the word. So many, good things that come out of it. Do it. You will get the PDF after. You can read the list then. Now I'm going to skip to the team. The team is obviously who we want to enlighten today. And they also benefit from the customer journey because it allows your knowing what actually counts for the customer at the different phases of the journey will help your employees to focus on the important tasks and don't have overhead with any actually non-impact tasks. It also will help them to feel empowered and enabled. It will help them realize that they are actually the ones creating the impact, and therefore will also lead to more success moments, which is what we all crave, right? If it's in work or if it's at home, we all want to feel like we're having success. So now to the second part, changing perspective. Why is it important to change perspective and to understand the entire journey? I feel like especially for people that work in customer experience, we always feel like it's so obvious what's happening in the journey, but it's really important to notice that it isn't for everyone. You are working in this field. You are looking at those subjects every day. Other people are not. Other people are just focusing on wherever they are standing in the journey. They're only looking at the touch points they are serving, at the expectations, the customer expectations they try to satisfy, just working in their silo. And yes, very often you will look right and left. You will have some collaborations, like marketing will work with sales. You will have customer service that works with, I don't know, e-com. But why is it important to go beyond that and work on a really holistic level of the customer journey, create this holistic understanding for all of your employees. And to show you that, I brought you a little example of Blossom Boulevard, which is your favorite online flower delivery service. Please meet Dan. Dan is the delivery guy of Blossom Boulevard. By bike, by car, he will deliver flowers to customers anywhere. And he has been doing that for years. And over those years, he's defined his 4 success factors, which are, first of all, quality, then make sure that the flowers are always in perfect shape when they get to the customer. He makes sure that delivery is on time, and that the service he's always delivering with a big smile, very important. Also, he has found that another success factor is because he's always delivering, he's delivering to the doorstep of restaurants very often for people that have a first date, who often ask him to hand him over a gum. They seem very excited. They don't know what's going to happen in this during this date. So he's figured out having a gum also always useful. Now, Blossom Boulevard is launching a customer journey initiative, and Dan learns that he is actually just one puzzle piece of the whole entire experience. He also learns that in each phase that his company is serving, the customer has different needs and different pains. Then he notices that not only he is serving, he's always trying to deliver best quality, but he sees that his colleagues in marketing are trying to gain the trust of customers. Specifically, his colleague, Marjorie, let's call her that, who is trying to convince customers that they can trust Blossom Boulevard by showing that they have an understanding of what the customer experiences when buying from them. This makes them think about, okay, wait, I am handing out thousands of gum every year, and I see that the customers are still very much nervous when they get their flowers. It's not over for them then. We assume that the journey is over when they get the flowers. No, the experience is not over, which is why he shares this with Marjorie, I think I called her. Marjorie can now use this information to share in a marketing campaign that they understand that the flowers are just a tiny part of the customer experience, and then use whatever wording she would like to empower the customer in the whole experience. Now Dan can continue to deliver flowers happily, and he can still hand out his gum, even though now it's financed by his company. So in conclusion, even when the 2 faces are not right next to each other, there's still lots of synergies that can be created between your departments. I hope that was understandable, but I feel like you already got it. Also, many, many other reasons why those cross-collaboration, those synergies are super important, super useful. We have, first and foremost, most important part, obviously, the enhanced customer experience. We have improved problem solving because of collaborative insights and the possibility for new innovative solutions. We have consistent messaging on all touch points with the customers, which is really important to build trust and reinforce your brand image. Also an increased USB, because your experience will be just so much more seamless because everyone is heading in the same direction, handing over confidently to the next phase of the customer journey. There's much better data utilization. You don't have, I feel like oftentimes people will collect the same data in the awareness stage and in the retention stage, but they don't know. So there's 2 different streams, 2 times the effort. Could work so much better if you had this shared knowledge of the customer journey. And then also really, really important to me, a stronger company culture. I feel like this is the backbone of any good company, is that your employees feel like they know what they're working for, they feel empowered in their work. And the customer journey and this understanding can also help with that. Bad news, as you've probably figured out, it's also quite the challenge. Why? Because as we've seen, each phase has their different customer needs that everyone is trying to serve in a limited time. Our teams are working in silos where there's just a lot of information that's getting lost. Also, often when you work in different teams, you have a different language, obviously not language, but just the jargon, the words, the abbreviations that you will use can be totally different. So when two teams even when they talk about the same thing, they will use different words. Then misaligned priorities, which comes back to the siloed working method. And then also this lack of training and awareness. So yes, ideally, everyone would have this understanding just like this. In reality, without effort from the company, it's just not gonna happen. Which is why I am currently trying in my company to establish the customer journey mindset throughout the whole company. We are, just to give you some insight, we have 3 different communities, as we call them. We have the creation, we have the engineering community, the creation, which are the creators, right? Our designers, UX, UI. And then we have our engineers, which are realizing all of our products. And then we have the operators, who are project managers and who are organizing all internal streams. And to bring all of those 3 communities together on the same table, I am applying those 3 methods for establishing the customer journey mindset. I'm sure you know most of them, so I'm going to repeat it. Obviously, agile. I think you know the Agile Manifesto. It's been developed in the early 2000s, and it's about being flexible and having an iterative approach for project management. And honestly, this is a project. Don't underestimate it. Bringing this customer journey mindset to your team is a whole project. And the best way of handling it, I find, is being agile, because there's always more to learn. We're going to talk about this later, but just stay flexible in what you bring to your team and test what is actually working. Forget the rest. Focus on what's working. Then I work in sprints, which is short, focused work cycles for progress. They have very specific goals, which I'll talk to on the next slides. But basically, I'm not trying to do everything at the same time. I'm trying to achieve one goal at a time and then build up on that. And then the last method that I think is very helpful is nugget learning, because we saw in the challenges, why is it hard? It's because time is limited. You can't really expect your employees to take a day once a week to think about the customer journey. Not realistic at all with all of the tasks that just, make everyday business. So yeah, let's try to use short, bit-sized educational content segments that you can easily integrate into everybody's work life. So those 3 methods are kind of like the guiding light on how we try to establish this mindset. Now, sprint goals. How do I define sprint goals? I'm using the SMART method, but actually I'm only using SART because M and T are kind of reserved for the content. What are SMART goals? They are specific, which means you really need to think about, okay, what specifically do I want to accomplish? Why do I want to accomplish this goal? Just try to define it out as much as possible. Measurable, yes, we always want to measure for success. However, as you'll see, lots of the time it's very meta, the goals of establishing this mindset. So how can you be sure that yes, 100% the goal of understanding the emotions, the customer experience during the customer journey has been achieved? Probably to have this, you're going to do a very intense quiz, and nobody likes a very intense quiz when it really shouldn't feel like any extra work, this whole goal. So measurable, more or less. Achievable, however, very much. Of course, you want to consider the resources and the skills that you have at your disposition to reach the goals. So take that into account when defining the goals. Don't go overhead. It's just gonna lead to disappointment, which we don't want. We want success moments. Relevant, definitely, it should improve either the execution, the understanding, whatever of the customer experience. So it should be relevant for your company or customer. And then time bound, yes. Also, obviously, you want to have a somewhat of a planning, but also be ready to iterate if necessary, when necessary, and stretch out those sprints a little bit when you're not sure if your team members understand as quick as you would if you would want them to. Remember, you are in this position, this is your job, they have their job. Don't expect them to, learn it in a day. Yeah, and about the content, so some principles and some format ideas, examples. Yeah, principles for the content: make it seamless, try to integrate it as smoothly as possible into the everyday life of your team members, of the team members of your company. That will just make it much more accessible and digestible. Also make it relatable. They are part of the experience, right? They are the ones creating the experience. So they should easily understand, ideally, what the experience is like. You have the examples nearby. Don't try to go searching so far. You are doing the experience. And then also keep it simple, which is kind of coming back to we're in Berlin embedding always. I don't know if anyone knows it. Lots of ambulances all around. I'm gonna close the window for a second. Better. But yeah, make it simple, which kind of comes back to seamless and relatable. If you overcomplicate things, it's not gonna enter the planning or the heads of the people. And then the different formats for those content pieces that you're gonna create, that we're gonna talk about in a second. Use events and reuse events. We have, for example, in some projects, we have weekly check-ins. We have a company Monday meeting, where I like to take 3 minutes in the end, in the beginning, to talk about customer journey subjects. So you don't have to schedule new events all the time. Just try to use what is already there. Then gamified interactions. I think we all know that if it feels like a game, it's much nicer. So the quiz format, or little Slack bot notifications, podcast formats. Gonna talk about all of that in a second, but just try to make it fun, try to make it light. And then throw in bits of information. They don't like, if you have, honestly, the customer journey at 5 stages, the week has 5 stages. Rather talk about 1 stage per day than throwing all 5 of them out there on one day. Like, really make it digestible, split it if necessary. The whole picture will come together at the end. Don't stress about that too much. Okay, and now I've prepared 3 example sprints that I'm going to show you. Some of those things have been tested, have been done. Some of those things not yet. Those are more what is still in the pipeline for me. So I'm very excited to actually talk about those after. Maybe you guys have some experience, some feedback. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, right? It's really the goal is to bring this mindset, the customer journey, to everyone. Okay, so for the first sprint, the goal is, it's always what I would start with, is understanding that the customer journey is an experience. It's explaining the phases, and it's explaining the goals and the pains. I really wouldn't go too deep in this first phase. It's more just understand that the customers come from somewhere and are trying to go somewhere when they are using our product and service. And for that, we have different content pieces, a launch meeting, everything that is a little bit fancy, purple orangey, is going to be explained in more detail, so I'm going to skip it now. But yeah, launch meeting, purple challenge, Slack challenges. I don't know which communication tool you're using. But I've seen really nice participation on those little Slack challenges that I've launched. I've also created a podcast, which I will actually iterate a little bit on the printout, but to make it, really easy, digestible for employees. But yeah, let's go into always 3 examples for each sprint. And the first one is the launch meeting. And I'm sure many of you have heard of Simon Sinek's Start with the Why, one of the most iconic TED Talks. I'm not going to lie to you, I had not seen it before I prepared for this this talk. My boyfriend recommended it. Shout out to him for this. It's amazing. Watch it. And it explains basically, if you haven't seen it, it explains that starting with the why, you will get the message across way more and you will actually inspire action. So to kick off your customer journey program, or however you want to call it, I would recommend to actually start with the why. I prepared 3. So Simon Sinek goes on start with the why, continue with the how, and finish with the what. The why could be, always adapt for your company, right? But for us, it was, we believe that you being the employees are the most powerful and impactful asset of, insert your company name here, realizing our customer experience, which is why we're doing this whole program, right? Because we believe you have the power, essentially. How are we going to do this program? We're going to shed light on the entire experience that customers have when relying on our products and services to foster an understanding of what we do, how we do it, and who we do it for. And then what we'll essentially get out of it, ideally, we will provide the environment and the tools that you, the team, needs to perform in the best way for you and the customer during each step of the journey. And here I think it's important to note, again, it should not feel like extra work to your team. Like they already are working in whatever position, whatever phase they are in. This should feel like it's benefiting, and which is what it is benefiting them, but they should also from the beginning understand that, and it's up to you to communicate that to them, right? Don't just do another company program where they ask even more of us. Let's try to be realistic on that, and really communicate that this is beneficial for everyone and interesting for everyone. So yeah, as I said, I just said with the events, you don't have to create an extra event. I have one exception, which is the launch meeting, because I think it is important to gather, we took 1 hour, we grabbed the whole company. Super difficult to find a slot for that, but honestly, I think it's worth the work. Just grab as many people as you can, ideally everyone, to present, what I just said, the why and what initiative are you launching now? Why are you doing it? And what is actually the customer journey? Ideally, you already have yours, and you should have yours already drawn out for this event. And again, don't go too deep. Maybe just focus on the phases and on, if you want, I would say customer goals, customer pains, and business goals. This is a great start to just present the launch of the initiative. And then so that was 50% of the presentation, and the other 50% was a very fun interactive exercise where I had pre-written a history. It was it was based on a customer profile that we already had. You could use any persona, obviously. But yeah, I had a 2-sentence script per phase, and I asked them to complete this script with something that could make the experience better. I could actually maybe also share that with you at the end. It was a very nice interactive little exercise to get everyone in the right headspace of, okay, we are actually the ones doing this journey and we can make it better. Success KPIs for this launch meeting, obviously attendance/reach. How many people did you get to hear this idea finally for the first time? Also, I would recommend to do an anonymous feedback, just ask a little on a scale of 1 to 5. Do you think the customer journey is a useful tool? Did they really understand the message? And then also, I would definitely provide a download link or something of the customer journey in case they want to look at it after. And the downloads are obviously a really interesting KPI as well, because it shows you where people are really interested or not so much. Even if those KPIs aren't the best, don't ever get discouraged. It's going to take time. Then another content piece is a printout. Print is not dead, guys. It really isn't. Maybe if you are in a completely remote company, but if you aren't, I would definitely recommend printing it out and putting it somewhere prominent in the office where people can just sneak a peek every now and then, even read it entirely when they're drinking a coffee in the office. Just make it prominent. It's really about, at this point, you just want to get it out there. Also, we had a remote mural version for remote people, but generally print it out. Then again, keep it little. You're still at this very first stage. You're just trying to get the global journey out there, right? You're trying to get them out of their silo, trying to get them understand that the customer is living in experience. So keep it to the stages, business goals, customer goals. I think that's completely fair. And then I was saying I'm going to get back to the podcast part of it. We added QR codes with an audio description of each phase, not like, it really was just what's happening in the stage in about 5 sentences max. In case people, are tired of reading, we know there's different learning types, and audio is a very prominent one. So this worked really nice for us. Success KPIs, obviously, it's also a really nice way of making it measurable. So success KPI is definitely the QR code scans. I also planted a secret audio message in the very last audio, which is basically, hi, if you're listening to this, send me a little bit message, you're gonna get a reward. Thanks for listening for so long, which is a nice KPI to see that people go all the way. To be honest, they did not in my case, but I'm not giving up, it's still hanging out there. And then also, I know this is not a measurable KPI, but still see if it's a conversation starter in your company, if people start talking about the customer journey, because that would already be a great indicator for success as well. And then the last content piece for this first sprint was my favorite, actually. It's the puzzle challenge, which we did, as I said here, we reused the Monday meeting that we have. And basically, I just, online on Mural, I took the journey, I cut it into pieces, and I arranged them completely differently. Everyone had their playground, and we started a timer. The challenge was place the pieces in the right order, and then the winner got a small reward, which for us was a pack of Haribo, which worked really nice. It was very fun. Everyone had a great time. Participation was really high. And also you can obviously look at the results. Did people get it right, or did people get it not so right? To give you an indication of, okay, can I finish the sprint here, or should I continue for a little bit? So that was the first sprint. Let's get into the second sprint example. Also, just always adapt for your company, right? Those are just examples. There's 100,000 more things you can do. So sprint 2, for me, a logical goal after, okay, we understood that we understand that customers go through an experience. Now we want to understand that we want our team to understand that they actually are the ones that are creating this experience on a daily. This sprint is very much about awareness, and it's actually, shout out to my colleague Nina, who I talked to after the first sprint, and she gave me the feedback. It's important to talk to your colleagues about feedback. And she said that it needs to be more relatable for people to actually take the time, to go into it. So yeah, it's very meta, very much about awareness. You want to understand that we create the customer journey. And for that, I brought 4 content pieces. The first one is a status quo evaluation, which you're going to see more about in a minute. Experience punch cards, very fun. And fuck-ups. I hope I can say that here. But I'm sure you know the format. Thanks, Veronica. And then the customer journey as a tool, which I'm not going to go into detail. So just on that here, if people understand the use of it, they will start asking to have they can start using it as a tool for themselves. Now, operator community, we now use it for organization. I just provided the empty journey, and you saw the checklist, for example, that Veronica just showed us. Use it as a real everyday tool that changes, that helps you to organize your goals. But yeah, more on that maybe later in the questions. Let's talk about the status quo exercise. It's a really nice way of reviewing the phases. Actually, it's where we have a very simple evaluation from everyone in the company of every phase. Just use red, yellow, red, green, yellow, red, on asking, hey, how do you think we are performing in each phase? If you have a long journey, as I said, split it, ask for one part of the journey per week, per day, depends on how long your journey is, but don't make it this long survey. People will not do it. And yeah, it's a great insight about what your employees think about your current performance, and where eventual great potentials lay to get better. Also, semi-anonymous. Why? Because definitely we want honesty, so make it anonymous. We're not gathering names. However, if you do have big apartments and they can give the department that they're working on, that could be interesting just to cross-check if the departments don't just say, okay, at our phase in the journey, everything's amazing, the rest not so much. It depends on the size though. And obviously the success KPI is participation, and here I would really send multiple reminders to push for high participation, just because it is a really interesting insight to have. Fuck-ups, as I can say it. It's really important to, not only talk about the positive. I'm sure you've heard about growth culture. We all make mistakes. Failure is an opportunity to get better. And if you don't reflect on your failures, what are you doing? So yeah, again, take those 5 minutes from your weekly meetings and reflect on, or encourage your employees to reflect on their fuck-ups and even share them if they feel comfortable to, and also make them reflect on their impact on the customer experience precisely. What got in the way? Was it bad planning? Was it emotions? Was it a lack of perspective, missing information? What happened? What was the impact? How can we make it better? There's not really a success KPI here, but I think self-reflection is the goal. Super important. So I definitely think this is an important exercise to help grasping that we are the ones doing the customer experience on the daily. Then a really fun one that I like, are the experience punch cards. You can do this digitally or print it out. And it's not supposed to be in a control instance, right? It's supposed to be for awareness. So it's just a punch card. When did you create or observe a positive impact being created during a customer experience or for a customer experience? You can punch it. You give a quick description of what it was. Was it like, I don't know, it's supposed to be for everyone, right? So it can be literally anything. It can be the IT guy that has zero contact with the customer, but that maybe just saw a colleague writing a handwritten card or something to thank a customer for 2 years of loyalty. That's a punch. There's not really right or wrong. It is about creating awareness and being aware about how we create our experience on the daily. Also adapt according to your business and your team, and rewards always help. It doesn't need to be anything big, but when they come to you and they've watched out for, I don't know, 3 weeks for those little hints of customer experience and they've written it down, reward them with maybe a €5 coffee gift card just for their great observation skills. Because again, this shouldn't feel like extra work, but the risk that it does is always there. So when they do the effort, be nice and grateful. And then sprint number 3 is about, it's much more tangible. It's about supporting the identification of ideally low-hanging potentials. So here we're really trying to, improve our customer experience. And for that, we're going to do a deep dive on the journey. We're going to talk about something that you've probably already heard, idea space, idea boxes. We're going to talk about CX coffee chats. Also, I'm not the author of this, but it's just proven that it works, and it's great. I mean, it's great to get this cross the conversation between departments going. And then also, we're not going to talk about that, but the journey is a shared library. And coming back to your Express tool here, you can use the journey to actually show, okay, what are the documents that we have to support you doing these different steps. And you can share that so that everyone has access to this journey and knows where to find different important information. I'm not going to go into that now. The deep dive, sure you remember the status quo-ness that we did. That was only in colors. Now, ideally, we want to get some quality insights, aka words. It's about zooming in the good, the bad and the good. Sorry, we want to, enhance the bad, obviously, but also we definitely want to amplify what's already working good, washing out the bad in some way. Make it small again. Nobody has time for long surveys. Nobody wants to do that. Do anonymous 1-question surveys, ideally integrate them in your communication channel, and just ask, what do you think goes well? What do you think needs improvement? And then, participation is obviously a success KPI, but also the quality of the answers that you get. And also, sorry, just maybe remind the customer of remind the team of the pains and needs of the customer on the different stages could help. Then an oldie but a goalie, I'm a fan of it, to be honest, are idea boxes. How do you get people to actually just pronounce their ideas? I feel like it's really this cliff between thinking something in your mind and then actually bringing it out there in the world. And idea boxes are a great anonymous way of doing that. Place them well strategically. The kitchen, the entry, the common room. Honestly, why not the bathroom? Don't make it feel like an obligation. Great ideas come on the bathroom sometimes to some people, and they should just feel encouraged to write them down even then. So place them strategically well. Don't make it feel like an obligation again. Maybe use monthly themes or monthly customer pains. Do you have an idea how we can improve this? Do you have an idea how we can answer problem Y? And again, if an idea is really good and you do actually, realize it, rewards. We want to appreciate the great ideas and the great efforts of our team. And success KPI here would be participation again, or the idea count. What do you get out of it? And then last but not least, for this last sprint idea, and I hope that I think I'm okay in time, are the customer experience coffee chats. It's once a month, you can just draw people from 2 different departments and schedule a coffee meeting with them. You provide a nice setting, and you also provide the journey for them to look at and some icebreaker questions like, can you share a memorable customer interaction you had recently? What did you learn from it? What do you think is the biggest challenge our customers face, in your face, generally? How do you think we can address this? Just get the conversation going. I remember in my old company, sometimes we would have those idea-breaking conversations in the kitchen, and it was completely just by luck. But we don't need to depend on luck in a good company. And the success KPIs are, of course, participation, again, quality of ideas. And also I would send out a feedback survey to the participants after, just to see how employees are reacting to it and how you can improve it. And now, last but not least, some ground rules. This is a holistic mission. It's very meta. Learning pace will definitely vary. Don't forget that. Set small, achievable goals. Really think about the SMART goals and get better through feedback. Now that I know I can say fuck ups, I will say this: time's a bitch. Time's a bitch. Don't get frustrated with it. Adapt. Adapting is really everything. And I'm going to add another quote from Simon Sinek, who quoted Martin Luther King, who didn't say, no, he said, I have a dream, not I have a plan. And that's okay. And now finally, how to get started. Just get started, create your customer journey if you haven't done so yet. Really, really, really do it. It's important for everyone's company to get this understanding. Whatever business you're in, it's useful. And then share it. Start sharing it, start talking about it, make it prominent, and feel free to use any of the references that I used. Thank you very much. This is it. I hope it was interesting for you guys. And yeah, get in touch if you would like to.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie. I was like listening to every word you were saying. That was so engaging, actually. I love the presentation. Thank you so much. And I will quickly tell you that if anyone here is looking for a professional, easy-to-use tool where you can create journey maps and then invite your colleagues to collaborate, to share their ideas and do all the stuff that Marie was talking about over the past hour. So UXpression is right here for you, and you can learn more about its features, functionality, and what cool things we have by booking a call with UXpression team via the link in the chat. And let me get to the questions that I saved. As I said, we don't have that much time left, so let's try to make it like quick and useful. When you were talking about the 3 principles that you use to actually engage the team, you mentioned the agile principle. And Chris, and actually some people supported him, was curious how you apply the agile methodology to establishing the customer journey mindset.
Well, basically agile, so I use sprints, right? And sprints are part of the agile manifesto. And I think the most important thing to remember, which is agile, is to adapt, to iterate. That's why I said sometimes it can be frustrating if you don't get the success KPIs that you want to see, but then move away, move on, try different things, take the learnings you can get, ask for feedback lots of time. Really, I think the best feedback, like the best improvements that I got out of conversation with my colleagues. So being agile basically means embrace failure, have the growth mindset, iterate, and also set small attainable goals. I think that's that's it.
Thank you so much. And another question was from Rich. Would there be any merit to have both positives and negatives on a punch card, like an experience ledger with puts and takes?
I love this idea. I think definitely. I mean, I think companies do make a mistake when they only talk about the negative. That's why, when I said for the deep dive, wait, can I go back in my present? Oh, no, I finished it accidentally. But in the deep dive, go into the positive to wash out the negative, but also talk about the negative for sure. I mean, we're trying to get improvement from both sides. So I think that's a great idea.
So the last question for today, we got this question multiple times in different wordings pre-event, as you also registered for your own event, and you know that we had the question like, what do you want to learn? But the key idea is, can you share any specific tip to get buy-in for non-design team members on building journey maps? Apart from what you said.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think it would be, I honestly always would go over through the impact that they create. So if an engineer, for example, who is doing blockchain that I have no idea about at all could be so useful for a salesperson in explaining what is actually happening, you know? So I would try to get their buy-in by showing the impact they could have. I think that's always what catches us, right? That's what catches the human mind. It's the why and what you can change. And then make it make it easy for them to participate. Maybe let them sit in a sales call and then evaluate, okay, do you see where I am struggling? This is where I need you, please help me. But yeah, show them what impact they can have, and actively try to bring them in.